Welcome to Dog Life Radio.
Hey everybody, we've got ourselves a special, it's a special episode of Dog Life Radio coming at you, and I am your host, Rossi Giugio. Thank you very much for joining me. Had a special episode, so we've got a special introduction. Yeah, that was my daughter. That was kind of cute, wasn't it? Anyway, so why the special off-cycle episode? Well, I had myself an awesome conversation not too long ago with Mr. Sam Alvey, who is getting ready for his fight tonight. As I record this, it is June 1st, and he is fighting on the UFC Fight Night 131 card in Utica, New York. Yeah, I had an awesome conversation with him. It's about 30, 35 minutes, something like that. Went back, started to prep it, doing all that wonderful editing that we do here at Dog Life Radio, which is not a hell of a lot of editing. But anyway, I was getting it ready and packaging it up, and then realized audio cut out about 11, 12 minutes into the conversation. So you're going to get the benefits of the first 11 or 12 minutes, which was pretty fun, pretty cool. Sam's a good guy. We talk about some interesting stuff about weight cutting and fights, and a little bit about his background. What you miss is everything else, which sucks. And man, I got to tell you, when I found out about it, I was pissed. But what are you going to do? Live and learn, right? Happen to be listening to Mr. Mike Dolce and his awesome podcast voice. He does have a killer voice for podcasting. Also some pretty good content as well. Anyway, I was listening to one of his recent shows, and in the early stages of it, his audio also crapped out. But the thing that I did learn from him, and in hindsight, stop the conversation, get the audio reestablished, and then carry on. See, he caught it. I didn't. That was the big mistake. Nah, that's pretty much the only thing that's difference between me and Mike. We're virtually identical. Maybe not. Anyway, so what we've got a little snip of my conversation with Sam, but just a little background. Sam is a huge UFC vet, fought many times. I think we're at about 15 fights in the UFC. And on top of that, he is the opening act. He is the first fight on the main card tonight. Let's see, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on FS1. He is going in there against Mr. Gian Villante. And of course, I'm going to take my man Sam in that fight. There's a couple of there's a handful of really good fights on this card. Some things that you definitely want to check out if you are a fight fan. The other interesting thing is there are brothers fighting on the card. Nope, not fighting each other, but fighting on the same card. That's the first time I've seen that. I haven't. It's really rare to have brothers actually fighting, let alone fighting on the UFC at the same time, let alone fighting on the exact same card. So yeah, Daniel Timur is fighting Julio Julio. Anyway, Daniel's brother David is also fighting on the prelims against Nick Lentz. So that is interesting into itself. Aside from that, you've got a couple of key fights that I think are interesting. You got Sijara Eubanks is taking on Lauren Murphy. For those of you who follow The Ultimate Fighter or follow female fighting, Sijara was teed up to fight against Nico, the current UFC 125-pound champ, in the Ultimate Fighter finale, but did not make weight, could not fight, and now she's kind of coming back here, so making this her coming back party. What was the other fight? There was one other one that I was interested in, just because we had Jessica Aguilar and Jody Escobar. Jody had a rough go, I think, in the Ultimate Fighter, had a tough decision loss. And Jessica's also had a rough go in the UFC. The good fighters, strawweights. Looking forward to that one. That one is on the prelims on UFC Fight Pass. So for those of you who have it, enjoy it while you got it, because who knows what's going to happen now that ESPN's in the house. But that's a different show. Anyway, some good fights tonight. Check it out. FS1 starts at 8 o'clock for the prelims. Some good fights there, and then the main card starts at 10 o'clock, and our man Sam Alvey is kicking it off. You're not going to want to miss that fight. Lots of fireworks. He's got cement in them hands. Anyway, here's the show. I hope you enjoy it. All right, we are live. The tape is rolling. This is Rossi Giugio, and we've got another episode of Dog Life Radio, and I am super excited to say that I have got with me on the phone today Sam Alvey, UFC vet, multiple time, I believe 14-time UFC vet, Smiling Sam Alvey. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. And I think it's 15 times.
15. Oh, man, checking my math. I was an English major in college, not math. So call it 15. We are calling it 15 times.
I'm pretty sure because I think, honestly, because I get an extra $5,000 from Reebok this fight.
Oh, there you go, man. I would know that too if I was getting an extra $5,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking about this upcoming fight, so we've got something on the docket coming up at UFC Fight Night 131 over here in New York, coming up on June 1st. You're facing off again, this is your second trip to the octagon as a light heavyweight. Is that correct?
Recently, when I first started fighting, I was 205.
Yep.
So I had my first 10 fights were at 205.
And then when you came over to I know earlier in your career in the UFC, you made a solid run at middleweight 185, and I know your last fight you were 205, and now you're coming in again against Gian Villante, currently ranked 15th, I think, in the UFC rankings, 205er.
Yeah, somewhere in there. I'm pretty sure when I win, I'm gonna crack that ranking at 205 as well.
That's fantastic, and that's exactly where I wanted to go. I was going to say, so how are you feeling at 205? I know sometimes cutting weight's always a hot topic, but I got to tell you, the last couple of months it's been burning up the newsreels and everything. Especially today, I don't know if you caught it. Darren Till missed weight today for the Thompson-Till fight over there in Liverpool.
Yeah, I saw. I think there was a girl fight that missed weight as well too. Oh, man. But Till he missed by what 3 pounds?
Yeah, I think.
And there's kind of an interesting stat. It was like the last 15 people to have missed weight, only one of those people lost their fight.
Oh, no kidding. That is really interesting.
Yeah, I'm actually that one person.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask who it was, so you got that one there.
Yeah, yep. I've got over 50 fights. I've missed weight one time, and I lost that fight. So not a stat I'm happy about, but I guess I deserve it for missing weight.
It's funny when you see, I know Till come out and he has taken, he was saying he's taken 100% responsibility. There's no excuses. I think he even offered up 100% of his purse instead of, the standard. I think it's like 20% or something like that. So he's come out saying definitely disappointed in himself. This is a feature fight for this guy, the biggest fight of his career to date. And then something like this happens.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that he offered to give up 100%, but man, that's pretty cool. I met him once. Actually, the fight that I missed weight and lost, he was on as well. He beat who he beat? Cerrone? He beat someone on that card, and he was a real nice guy. Till I really enjoyed meeting him with him. He was very relatable. So when he missed weight, I felt terrible about it, but it's part of the sport. You got to make weight, so. Hopefully it's still a good fight.
Yeah, hopefully it does take shape. I know they were putting some kind of cap on the upper end. I think some of the details were still being worked out. Something I had read that fight day he was to come in no heavier than, I think it was like 188 or something to that effect, which, for those listeners who aren't aware, this would be a 170-pound weight class. So they were to weigh in at the 171 because it's a non-championship fight. And the day of, they were putting, at least tossing around the idea of don't come in over 188 and it can still be a go. So I'm not sure if that's going to fly or not, but I know they're really banking on that being the headline fight of that day.
Yeah, the same day weigh-in that he has to pass also, that's going to be a big deal. When I was fighting at 185, I would easily put 35 pounds on overnight. And I have to imagine Till is similar at 170. So if he has to stay beneath, that's only 18 pounds he's allowed to put on, that could really affect the fight.
I would think so. And let's talk a little bit about that. Like when you were fighting at 85, you would have to come in at 186. And typically, what were you when you were coming into a fight week? How much were you looking to get off in that last week, just for perspective? Because I know there's been tons of conversation around weight cutting the past few months with Mackenzie Dern not too long ago, and then I think a little further back there was a Khabib and Ferguson fight where I think Khabib had to pull out. It happens everywhere. So just you're aiming to get at about 186 when you're coming into that last week of fight camp. What were you traditionally kind of targeting?
So if I fight on Saturday, I weigh in on Friday. On Tuesday of that week, I try to be 15 to 20 pounds. 15 is ideal, but usually it was closer to 20 pounds. And I was always real comfortable with that. It was never easy, but it was never that hard. I knew what I had to do, and I did it pretty well. And I've been working with George Lockhart for almost 3 years now. And his dieting and his weight cutting system was it changed the game for me. The one time I missed weight, it was a bit of an extreme cut. It was I got called for a last minute late notice fight. I had 10 days and I cut 42 pounds.
That's crazy.
And I made it. I was supposed to cut 42 pounds. I ended up cutting about 40 pounds. I underestimated how much I could do, or overestimated how much I could do.
That's absolutely incredible. Over 40 pounds in that short, sort of a time frame.
Yeah, and I was so sure I could do it. I would not have accepted the fight if I thought I was going to fail at it, but I failed. And so he got 20% of my purse, and I performed like I had just cut 40 pounds. And so after that, I went up to 205. And I actually didn't go up to 205 because of it. They didn't have a fight at 85 for me, so I said, I'll fight at 205 if they got something. And they had a matchup for me there.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. What kind of prompted the move? So it was the opportunity wasn't just presenting itself at middleweight. So you were like, all right, I'll take a fight. If you're cutting that much weight to get down to 85, you're fairly big guy to begin with. What do you normally walk around at for weight?
Yeah, I haven't gotten much bigger since going to 205. I still walk around 225 to 230. And then I would at 85, it would take me 8 weeks, and I'd diet down to 185. At 205, I still take the 8 weeks or 6 weeks, however long I have. I get to be a little more comfortable while doing it.
I would think so. Holy crap. That's still walking around at big weight, though, for 205. I remember hearing something at one point that I think it was Forrest Griffin used to walk around at like 235-ish or something like that. And I always remember he was a bigger dude as well. So it seems like you're not putting yourself up into a weight class where you're going to be severely undersized.
Yeah. I don't think, I think this fight of mine against Gian Villante, I think he's one of the bigger light heavyweights right now. I think he walks around pretty heavy. But he was an NFL level football player too. So he could get a little thicker. So I'm interested in seeing how big I am compared to him. I suspect I'll be smaller, but who knows? Maybe we'll be about the same size.
Yeah, I remember reading up on him as well. I think he took a couple of fights at heavyweight early in his career as well.
Yeah, he probably did. I had one fight at heavyweight. It wasn't supposed to be. I fought Clay Guida, Jason Guida, Clay Guida's brother.
His brother, yeah.
And it was supposed to be a 205 fight. And he showed up 20 pounds heavy. So I've got one heavyweight fight under my belt.
Oh man. Well, this is going to be a great fight. I can't wait to watch it. You're the opening bout on the main card, as of the UFC website anyway. Gian's a big dude. He's strong. He's coming off of I was checking out his record. He's coming off of a win. But right before that, he had a couple of losses to Pat Cummings and looks like Shogun Hua as well. So he's still at the spot where it's a good tipping point to tap into that rankings for that 205 weight class.
Yeah, and that's kind of the plan. At 85, I fought a lot. I set that or tied that record for most fights in a year. I created the legend of Sam Alvey. And here at 205, I'm going to try and climb those rankings. I'm going to get to that title shot, and I'll get my hands on DC eventually.
That would be fantastic. I would love to see it. And to be honest with you, I want to see the trip there because that 205 weight class is, there's some good fighters there. And I do think that you match up really well with a lot of them too. I mean, when you start talking about, even if you take DC out of the mix and even Gustafsson, you're looking at No Time Ozdemir, Glover, and Manawa. I think you match up really well with these guys, and I would love to see you get in the ring with them.
Yeah, and that's the plan. I'll get there. Just got to keep winning, and I'm going to take my time a little bit more. At 85, I took any fight and any amount of notice, and at 205, I'm going to try and take smart fights with a good camp.
So speaking of camp, how's camp going right now?
Oh, and very well. I had a lot of training partners. And all my coaches were there, and I'm feeling pretty good.
Excellent. Because we are running down, like, the day that we're recording this. Today's the 26th, so Fight Night is just around the corner. You got to be feeling pretty good about it. And I think you were saying, as we were kind of going back and forth to set this up, you had made the trip out to the East Coast. So I think yesterday, I think it was, right?
Yeah. Well, I just got here today. I got here about 4 hours ago. Awesome. But it all started yesterday, the trip out here. Because I live a little north of San Diego, and right now I'm a little north of New York City, so it was a long drive.
I bet. Oh man, that is a that's a rough one. But when I look back,
go ahead.
I'm
just joking. I didn't drive. I flew, but it was so long.
I was going to say something. Oh, wait a minute. Did you just say drive? But did I hear something there? Okay, but even still, that's a long flight.
Yeah.